Just a little overview. I'm not gonna really go over the new character because if you want to watch it, you can watch the ability overview, or you can go watch the dev stream on Twitch. I believe they have VODs on if you want to see the new character. Basically, she's a stance switcher. She's an ADC. Probably gonna be played more in jungle, I would guess, but I also don't know. I haven't played her. I assume she would be played more in jungle though, based off her kit. Kind of like an Uller character from Smite if you played Smite, but a little bit different. She doesn't have mana. She has like a rage stack kind of thing called Heat. Um, so she's a stat switcher and the first non-manaless hero, first non-mana hero. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. And then also the first Omida original stat switcher. So that's also kind of interesting. But as far as the actual kit, I'll like slowly go through it in case you want to pause and read through it. Alternatively, again, you can go watch the ability breakdown video on their YouTube or the dev stream on their Twitch. Get into the actual stuff. They talk about how the upgraded pots work if no mana does it give heats. That's a good question. I actually don't know Visk. That's a great question. I assume it would just give you nothing. You just get the extra healing. The upgraded pots do give you extra healing, so at least you would still get more healing from them. Theoretically, that's a great question though. Hello, Avon. Meow. Sardines, good morning. Um, okay, Frost Shift. Basically, the Shaper currently does the meteors. On the next patch, 1.10, there is a second version where it spawns like ice bridges and things like that. As you can see the picture. Basically, you have a chance to get each, depending on the game. It will spawn one or the other. It's not every time you'll get the ice one, every time you'll get the meteor one. It's random. Sometimes you'll get one, sometimes you'll get the other. I would imagine it's weighted more towards the ice one just because it's new, but you have a chance to get either one. So you're not always going to be on the ice map. It also automatically activates at 14 minutes. You no longer have to kill the Shaper. Nobody cares about Nitro. Nobody cares. The Shaper also has different mechanics as well, like the actual objective itself. So the world shift happens at 14 minutes. The Shaper spawns at 15. The actual Shaper itself is different depending on which world shift you get between the ice or the meteors. The meteor one is the same Shaper where it spawns the seedlings. The frost one, which is for the Frostfall, of course, ends up giving you a buff. It applies 10% slow when you deal damage. And then it also slows tower attack speed when you attack them, so you can siege that way. Golden XP are the same. Buff lasts 2 minutes. And then it also has some different attacks. One of them is a stun. One of them is like delayed damage on you that does AoE. And then it also has damage reduction. So it's probably a little bit harder to solo than the other Shaper, just due to the fact that you have to hit it consistently. Next new feature, Loadout Builder. This is really good for new players. This is probably the best feature that you can ever have for new players. Everyone's like, do a tutorial this, do a tutorial that. You can never teach people how to play a MOBA, but you can help people learn MOBAs easier. This is the best tool that you can ever have for somebody to play the game as a new perspective. You can just load in, find a character you like, pick a character, like pick a build that's popular based off of what other people have made. So you can search other people's builds, you can upvote them, downvote them, whatever. And then I assume the most upvoted builds will be at the top, or like the most popular builds for like X amount of time, like the last week or something, will be at the top. And then you can just copy them and use them with auto build. Then you don't have to worry about building your items; it'll just build for you. Doesn't mean you can't turn it off in the middle of the game and then turn it back on in case you want something else. But this is probably the best feature that you can have for new players. They killed that. The UI looks great. Yeah, I think this is probably the most well done feature that they've ever done. This is like typically when I feel like when they release a lot of features, part of it is like not finished. This looks like it's like actually like fully finished from like 0 to 100%, not like 80% finished. This is like fully finished in my opinion, compared to what normally they do, which is great. That's good on them to actually like fully release a feature that's really nice. This Smite one though, well, this is better than Smite one. In Smite one, you can never search items. You can never search other people's builds. This is more on par with like Deadlock, for example, in terms of the way that they have their item builder set up. You can also like put text and stuff like that to like help people. If you make a build, you can upload your own builds. You don't have to, but you can upload your builds to the public database, and then people can see it there or whatever, which is great. This is really good. I'll probably end up making builds for characters in general when I'm just sitting in a queue, just to try to keep them updated. I'll probably have like a tag for them or something like that so that people know that it's mine. in case you guys want some good builds and not, some Timmy builds. Says work in progress. Can't you read? The picture is. It'll be finished for the thing. Uh, Rank season ends. Soft reset. If you played 15 games, you get the Sarah skin. If you were gold or above, you get an alternate variant of the skin. If you're in bronze or silver, you just get this base version. But depending on if you were above silver, so like gold or above, you get an alternate version equivalent to your highest rank. Just your highest rank, not the rank you finish in. You're reset 5 divisions, so if you're Paragon, you go down to Platinum 2, I believe, or Platinum 3. I believe it's Plat 2, if I'm not mistaken. And if you're like Diamond 3, you go down to like Gold 2, etc. And you just get reset down 5 divisions. Next split is the end of February, so you have from now until next February to hit Paragon again. Give us the next split as well. Yeah, we already knew this, Denim. This is not new information. Did it freeze for anyone else or just you? That's just you. Refresh your page, buddy. Somebody tell him to refresh. Somebody tell that guy to refresh. He's missing a lot of patch notes. A bunch of new items, 8 crests, 24 items, etc. A lot of new stuff. Severog skin. I'll open these up just so that you guys can see them. Mommy! Basically just Egyptian based. I didn't even know this Yin one existed. They didn't show this in the little trailer that they released. That's kind of nice. Countess, just like a recolor, but honestly not too bad. Kind of reminds me of the it reminds me of the esports skins, the PCC skins. Eden also gets a skin, a little Gundam skin. This is actually kind of sick. Looking at it up close, like in the more blown up version, it actually looks kind of good. She looks like the Anthony Mackie meme. Who? The Countess? I don't see it. I'm gonna be honest. Bundles for all of this stuff. They don't have the prices here, but I assume they'll probably be probably like $25 per bundle. I would guess outside of like the full bundle. Also a alternate version of the Crunch Boxer skin. It's very similar, but I think it's like a step above, a little bit more dripped out if you prefer that. Also, they'll change the voice lines on the Gideon skin that they just released. The Occult Gideon skin will have different voice lines, which is good. Applied retroactively, so if you already have the skin, you will just have alternate voice lines on it. Hopefully they're good. We'll see. Also, Battle Pass. Battle Pass also ends at the end of the rank season, so there will be a new Battle Pass with the skin, or with this patch, and that Battle Pass will go until February. If you don't finish it, you could still buy it after and still finish it. You can also still finish the one that's currently active or any of the previous ones, as you can still select those to be finished. You do have to buy it, though, if you do want to finish it later. Bunch of free stuff. You get at least one free skin, some cores, of course, opals, etc. Bunch of free stuff in it. Probably like $10, $15. What are they normally? They're like $15, right? Is that accurate, chat? Well, VFX, there is no VFX. VFX are a lot harder to make, so I'm not like surprised that there's no VFX. Maybe they'll retroactively add it in the future. Who knows? Current battle pass being vaulted. Again, you could still use it. FSR support. I don't use an AMD graphics card. Game localization, adding Chinese and Korean to the game. And I believe there's announcer voice. Is this true? The extra announcer packs. So currently I use the Japanese one. Everyone's like, how do you use the Japanese? Why are you using the Japanese one? I don't know. It just sounds cooler. They'll have Chinese and Korean version in the game as well. Nitro, nobody cares about Nitro. We're skipping through this. Honestly, if you care about Nitro, you can read through that. I don't care about Nitro. Nobody cares about Nitro. Extra pings, you get good job back. Thanks, out of mana, whatever. Nobody cares really, honestly. Good job back, sick. Really, only like important one is it's easier to ping Shaper instead of River Buff, so that's nice. And into the actual meat of the patch, new items. Marksman crest, so this is part of the ADC crest. You lob a grenade and it doesn't explode on impact, it explodes on terrain, but it will bounce people and stun them, which means you can use it to cancel abilities. which is really important. They also take 20% more damage. And you could already cook up some devious things with this, honestly. This is really good for certain like ADC matchups specifically. For example, you can cancel Sparrow Ult with this. So if you're playing like an ADC against Sparrow, you could potentially cancel like Sparrow Ult or something like that, or Argus right click maybe if you're playing against an Argus, like things like that. Like there's a lot of really interesting things that you could do with this, since it is a micro stun. Also, it does a decent amount of damage. 2 minute cooldown, not too long, not too short. Interesting active though. Not sure if it'll be better than cleanse, but it will be interesting. You could also do some cool stuff like play Bellica. You stun somebody, hit this with them, hit them with this, and then knock them back, and then they take 20% more damage. So your ult does 20% more damage. You could do some fun stuff with it. Not sure
I'll
how
take
good
the
it'll
whole
be,
team,
but we'll
bro.
see.
Five
Ritter, thank you
guys,
so
that
much
ain't
for the
nothing.
5 gifted. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, my goat. I don't know why I said it like that, but thank you so much. Abyssal Dart, this is the teleport. So basically, if you played Smite, it's kind of like Susano 3. You throw it at somebody, it marks them, and then you can reactivate it to teleport to them. When you teleport, it does damage and slows, 90-second cooldown. If you miss, it just does nothing, I believe. So you do have to hit this. I believe this is a skill shot. It's not a lock on. So you can miss it, I believe. Gravitum. I don't even know what this one is. Polarity Blast, fire or projectile of unstable energy that pierces non-heroes and has infinite range. Infinite range is kind of funny. That means you can maybe kill somebody backing. Being a little bot, this builds off the champion crest, which I believe is the fighter crest, the one that builds off of Judgment. Told me its pathing grounds the first enemy hero hit, so that means you can take people out of the air, which is really good. This is very good. Is this lock on Ace? Is this one lock on? I assume it's not, but this is really interesting. First cripple in the game, which is nice. This is actually the first cripple that's been added to the game, if I'm not mistaken. W skill shot. None of them are skill shot. None of them are lock on. W. That's my CEO. First what in the game? First cripple. Cripple basically means it's a status effect that allows you to not use mobility skills, or cancels your current mobility skills. Is what this is. Also does damage, which is nice, but this is really good against, like, you can cancel Howitzer ult, I imagine. You can cancel, a lot of stuff with this. You stop Kalari jump. I assume this stops double jumps. Does this stop, like, Galaxy Greaves and stuff like that as well? This is, like, a really good counter, and this allows a lot of people, like, characters that maybe can't interact with mobility as much to allow them to play the game. You think so, but you've not tested it? Fair, honestly. Gideon ult's not a cripple. You can still use mobility skills. You just get sucked. Void Gazer, Eldritch Grasp. This is a Wizard Crest, so this builds off of like the Obelisk Crest, or the Tempest Crest, if you will. Fire Projectile, Void Miasma, that pierces non-heroes, is 100 plus 20% magical power to enemies. Applies 35% decaying slow. Enemies take 12% more damage for 3 sections. The projectile stops upon hitting enemy heroes. Just kind of like a, you can just hit them with the fireball, fireball, fireball. You could just fireball them. That's what this is. This sounds like a fireball to me. Fireball! And they take extra damage for a few seconds. If I'm not mistaken, there's a league item very similar to this. But yeah, just a projectile fireball. Sounds like that. You do extra damage for a couple seconds. It does damage. It applies a slow. Kind of interesting. I hope we get a cleanse finally. Ace, there better be a fucking mage cleanse, you son of a bitch. I'm talking to you. I see you in the chat. Oh, sorry. This one's actually off the. This one is not off the Obelisk Crest. Sorry, this one is off the Stasis Crest. Winter Fury Occult. Chorend releases Sphere of Icy Energy that expands 800 units over 3 seconds. Enemy units that enter the zone receive 100 damage and receive a 50 damage. 50% decaying slow. Additionally, enemies hit take 10% more magical damage. Can they take this damage multiple times? Can you, like, what if they walk out and, like, what if they walk into the zone, take 100, then walk out, and then walk back in? Do they take more damage? How does that work? It's like Ice Gorns. I assume this is probably more like Yin Ultimate, but if you walk into it, you take damage. Guess I'll find out on Tuesday. Yeah, fuck Ray, dude. Not giving us a cleanse, dude. Fuck that guy. Give us a fucking cleanse, Ray. Stasis sucks. Give me a cleanse. Pygmy Dust. Minimize target yourself for another hero to shrink them for 3.5 seconds. So it's kind of funny. You can target yourself, which is nice. Maybe Muriel will finally be able to shield herself easily, or Zinx will be able to heal herself finally. How do you target yourself exactly? Do you just hold the button down, or like how does this work exactly to target yourself? Can you target ally heroes or only enemy heroes? How exactly does this work? Oh, you can target allies. Allies get extra movement speed. Enemy heroes are slowed and they take 25% less damage for the duration. Oh, sorry, they deal 25% less damage. I mean, that's kind of 25% damage reduction is actually a lot, especially if you hit like an assassin. It's how Zinc Salt works. I kind of don't like that just because it's a weird button press, but also I'm just not used to it, so it's probably fine. But can Zinc heal herself finally? How about we add that to the game? It'd be cool if it lowered Fang Mouth threshold to 25%. Well, Fang Mouth threshold is just flat HP. It's not really how that works. It would do less damage though if it didn't execute you. Um, this is the Florence Crest. They showed this on stream. Basically, it applies like a little bounce pad for you, kind of like an Octane jump pad or something like that if you played Apex. Each hero can only bounce once every 5 seconds, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So it means theoretically you could bounce twice if you're lucky. And you go 1,200 units. For reference, an auto attack range for a ranged character is 1,500 units, so it's a little bit less than auto attack range. Earth Spirit, this is the tank crest. You turn into a boulder, you roll out, applies a stun, you're unstoppable while you're a boulder. Not sure I'm a fan of this one. This one is probably really OP. You also lower the cooldown if you hit somebody. That's kind of OP. Honestly, this one should probably not exist. I'm going to be honest. You should probably not be unstoppable during this. This is probably OP. Get ready to get Richter rolled out on, and then he's going to stun you into a hook, into an ult, and you're not going to play the game for 5 seconds. This one is probably going to be really OP. This is probably the best crest that's being added, in my opinion. That one's going to be really busted. Some of the other ones are pretty good, but this one is probably the best that is being added to the game. That one's going to be insane. Also, 5 seconds of Unstoppable means your 5 seconds of CC immunity, very, very strong. You can just roll around in a team fight. Can you roll out from base lane to get more speed? I don't think it gives you movement speed. It doesn't say that it gives you movement speed. Gravitum, pretty elite. No, I think this one's actually really good. This one, like, Gravitum's probably the second best. Abyssal Dart's probably like third, and then Fireball is probably fourth, I think. The mage ones are like okay. I think Stasis is kind of bad, but being able to just do 12% more damage to somebody is really strong. I think a lot of the crests are pretty interesting. We'll see how good they actually are when we actually play. Tier 1 and Tier 2 items I don't really care about. These are just like, whatever. Actual items. Cursed Ring. So on this patch, they've added new cursed items, which basically they have like a negative effect when you buy them, but you can only have one cursed item at a time per character. This one is the ADC version. Basically, it just gives you some raw stats, and then it increases your attack speed flat, and then it also decreases your basic attack damage. So you get increased attack speed, but less damage per auto attack. But your actual cap of attack speed is higher. So, like currently in the game, you can only attack a maximum of 3 times a second with just items. Stuff like Sparrow 2 allows you to go over this cap, or like Murdoch 2 that gives you extra attack speed from a passive or like from a ability, allows you to go over this cap. But this allows that cap to be higher base. I assume you can still go over this cap with abilities and things like that, but this is really interesting. Grounded not being in support tree kind of sucks though. Kind of true. But also supports typically have a little bit more CC or stuff to deal with people in the air. Like, Narbash, like, Morn, etc. Richter. You can at least like hook people, things like that, and like actually hit people in the air. I think that's more for people like Rux and stuff that can't really interact as much. OP on since on hit effects won't do this. This does not affect your on hit abilities. It is just your basic attacks. They showed this off on dev stream, and I thought this would be pretty good with on hits, but it depends because on hits only do so much damage. So we'll see. Maybe for Grim, I think this is more for like if you're building. It does get magical power actually. That's kind of interesting. Maybe for like TB or something like that. His ult does scale based off of how much attack speed you have. So like it could work really well on like TB or something like that. Could also use it on like Bellica maybe if you play Bellica ADC. Necrosis. This is I can't even speak, dude. What is wrong with me? Anyways, attack speed, crit chance. You get 25% ult taste. Your ult also deals 15% more damage. This is just kind of physical overseer, basically. Pretty much all this is. Don't see this really being that useful. I don't think ADCs really care about their ults doing that much damage, but again, maybe this will be good on like a random, TB build where he just ults you and you die. How long have we been going, dude? 20 minutes. Holy shit! I gotta speed up a little bit. We're not even a quarter of the way through this shit. Ruination. Your next basic attacks on hit apply bleed. You also drain mana. Bleed does true damage equal to the mana drained. I don't think this will be that good. There is a 15-second internal cooldown. I don't think it'll be that good, but it's interesting nonetheless. Scatter shot. When you basic attack, it summons two projectiles home towards the two closest targets. Can this hit the same target? Like if I auto attack somebody and they're by themselves, does this hit the same person, or does it have to be two different things? Is ult damage increased pointless on Xerath? Xerath ult does do damage, but I wouldn't say it's like super relevant damage. It has to be two different. Okay, that's what I thought, because it'd be pretty OP if it wasn't. Also, the little projectiles that it spawns can crit and apply lifesteal. So that's like more of a team fight item. I don't think it'll be insane early game, but it might be good late game. It does have decent stats. Kind of expensive, the 3100 alternator. First, we got the catalytic converter, and now we got the alternator. We're building the whole car at this rate. Alternator is basically your right click does more damage. And then after you right click 20 times and you back to base, the rest of your abilities get reduced cooldown. Like it upgrades, and then the rest of your abilities get reduced cooldown. This will be really good on like Wraith, Kalari, things like that. Also has really good stats like 10 haste, mana, really nice, means you can build it early. Fizzpen, obviously really strong. This will be really good on like Wraith, Kalari, characters like that. Even like Feng Mao will get a lot of value off this, but not as much because your abilities are kind of low cooldown anyways, and your dash resets regardless. It is interesting to note that you get the cooldown after you use your right click. It's not just like flat, so like you get extra damage on your right click, but then you also right click, and then your right click lowers your cooldowns. This will be really busted on like Wraith and Kalari, but other than that, I'm not sure who else would really use this that much. I guess Zarus would use it, but even then, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't have HP, so I'm not sure it'll be as good on them, but we'll see. Interesting item though. Mana Scythe, you get Lifesteal, Attack Speed, Fizz Pen, Power. Very cheap item, honestly. 12 pen is kind of a lot. Also, is this the same? It's the same picture as Nex. Your basic attacks deal 2 times damage to minions and small monsters, so you clear faster. You permanently gain 0.5 physical power every time you kill a siege minion or camp leader. That's kind of insane. Infinite scaling power is really strong. This is pretty insane. Basically means every clear that you do, you're getting like 4 or 5 power. Kind of insane. Roll to 2,500 units of an enemy unit. If you don't have an allied hero within 800 of themselves, you deal 50% more damage. Very strong item. I assume this will be good or it'll be trash. This probably is a hard one to balance, but this might be really good, might be really bad. We'll see. Solstice. Get 25 stacks each second, so up to a max of 100. Takedowns grant you 100 stacks immediately. Your next base attack assumes all stacks, dealing 10 physical damage, increased by up to 60% physical power based on how many stacks you have. If Mournfall is activated while at 100 stacks, the damage of the effect is increased by 2.25%, and you heal for 150% of the damage dealt by this effect. Okay, this item is going to be a must build. This is actually broken as fuck. You're going to heal a shit ton, and you're going to do a fuckload of damage. This is just Galaxy Greaves on steroids, but you heal. This is going to be nuts. This item will be really good. I can just tell you right now, this item will be really good. And the stats on this item, absolutely nuts. Double armor. The only thing it doesn't have is HP, but nobody gives a fuck. This item is going to be nuts. That item will be an insane 4th, 5th item. I can just tell you that right now. Holy cost, doesn't matter, dude. 3,100 doesn't matter. That item's nuts. Volcanica. Hellstorm, upon casting a basic ability, reduce your other current basic ability cooldowns by 1 second. Upon casting your ultimate, reduce your current basic ability cooldowns by 2 seconds. Kind of interesting. It is your current cooldown, so like the lower your cooldown, the less value you actually get out of this. Not sure how good this will be. 40% effective for stance switching heroes. Okay, I don't think this item is that good. I don't really expect this to be very useful. I feel like if I want cooldown reduction, I'd rather just go like Ordis or the alternator item or something like that. It's kind of interesting. Interesting concept. I don't think it'll be that good, but we'll see. Could be wrong on that. Bizarre Carapace. Shell shock based attacks and abilities hit against enemy heroes apply a stack of scorn to the target. Upon applying 3 stacks, activate Shell Smash. You deal bonus damage based on your level and gain 80 plus 10% max health shield for 3 seconds. 80 plus 10%. Oh, okay. I can't wait to play against. Is there an internal cooldown on this? There's a 12-second cooldown. Can't wait for Chimera to jump on me, beat my ass, instant stack this, and then get 600 HP shield. Interesting. I can't wait for that to happen. That'll be fun. It'll be a really good Chimera item. Not sure who else would really use this. Sereth, maybe. I guess this would proc on Sereth Q, because Sereth Q is an ability that procs on hit effects. It also applies on abilities, so it doesn't actually even have to be auto attacks. Okay, yeah, this will be probably a pretty good item. This is just Salvation, but you get it multiple times in a fight, and it does damage. This is a very good item. 15 haste is also nuts. Amulet of Chaos, takedowns reduce your current basic ability cooldowns by 60% and return 30% of your missing mana. This is just Spirit Desolation from Smite. Great item. Flat pen, very nice. Not a lot of physical pen items in the game, so it's nice to see more flat pen. This will also make flat pen builds a lot more viable because you can get up to like 40, 50 percent, 40, 50 flat pen, which is a lot better, especially if you're into more squishy teams. You might not have to go Caustica as often. Claw of Hermes, another mage item. Mana burn against melee heroes, basic attacks drain 2% of their max mana. Against ranged heroes, drain 3% of their max mana instead. Can't wait for Bellica to suck me dry, like the little freak she is. Deal true damage to the target equal to damage that you burn. If you're ranged, the mana burn is 50% as effective, so it'll be 1% and 1.5%. But this is, I assume, on anything? Like, what is this applying on? Oh, just basic attacks? Yeah, I mean, Bellica's gonna drain you. She's gonna drain you dry, that's for sure. Mind Flayer abilities deal 10% additional magic damage based on the target's missing mana. Not sure this will be used on anybody except for Bellica, but maybe on other people. It's interesting. It does have mana, which means you can kind of go early, flat HP. People will be using mana regardless of if you're proccing the auto attack passive. So like you'll still be getting the extra 10% damage generally, or like you'll be getting like 5 to 10% in most situations, I think. Will be interesting. Not sure if it'll be super strong, but it will be solid for sure. Gaussian Greaves. This is the double jump item. They showed this on the dev stream. Basically, you get a second double jump, and then when you land from the double jump, you deal extra damage. I believe this stacks with Galaxy Greaves, so if you're playing support, you can go like Galaxy Greaves and then build this, and you get like a Galaxy Greaves jump, and then you can double jump after that, which does allow you to get over like certain walls that you can't normally get over, like the River Buff wall where Shaper is. You can't do that with Galaxy Greaves by itself. You need a little bit higher jump. You can do this with like Decker, for example, like you can Galaxy Greaves and then Decker jump over. I assume this would allow you to do that if you had both. Life Core, upon damaging heroes, gain charges equal to 50% of damage dealt. Upon reaching 100 charges, damage a hero to trigger Healing Wisp. Basically, you deal damage, you get charges. When you get enough charges, you apply a heal. This is going to be really good on like Faye right click with healing. Going to be really strong. Pretty much every character is going to be really strong on this. It's going to be a lot of healing in the game. Anti-heal is going to be even stronger next patch. I love when they add healing to the game because anti-heal's already must buy. So get ready to must buy anti-heal again. Not going to change. Orion, 80 magical power, 15 haste. This is an auto attack item. Get attack speed equal to 80% of your ability haste. This used to be Prophecy's passive, if I'm not mistaken. Upon starts with base attacking, increase your damage dealt to the target by 1.5% for 3 seconds, up to a maximum of 15%. Yeah, Bellica's looking really good next patch. Auto attack Bellica's looking really good. So lock in for that. Spectral schematics, 3k gold, 50 power, 20 haste, 300 health. Upon mobilizing an enemy unit, deal 40 plus 6% target's current health, additional magical damage. Also a really good item. This will probably be very strong. For magical bruisers, stuff like Qual get a lot of value out of this. You root somebody, does 6%. You knock them up, does 6%. Sick. Can't wait to take 12% from just like flat off a Quan combo, not including the actual Put anti-heal in more kits. There's actually zero characters in the game that have anti-heal, outside of the augment, air quotes, of what's it called, of Greystone, but they don't even stack with the items. It just takes the highest application, so like it's trash. They need to add diminishing returns anti-heal and add more anti-heal to kits. I agree, North. Aurora also probably going to abuse this. There's a lot of characters that can abuse this. Honestly, like Damage Morn, for example, etc. Current health so less effective at lower health, correct, but it's still a lot of damage. It also does 40 flat, so it's not just like it does nothing if you're low. Devotion. Fidelity, your heals and shields are 50% stronger when used on allied heroes that are below 40%. So it's just kind of like you do extra damage when they're low, or you do extra healing when they're low. Great on like Arbash, things like that. Also has mana regen, shield power base. So you'll actually do like 25% shield power on this, which is kind of nuts. While taking damage, if the income damage is greater than 120, reduce it by 20%. This is an insane passive. Honestly, this might even be insane just to buy on literally any character in the game. If you just reduce magical damage by 20%, this is kind of nuts. This might be the best magical defense item in the game just due to this secondary passive. Even if you don't even use half these stats, just reducing magical damage by 20% flat is an insane pickup. This is actually an insane item. This might be one of the best items in the game, especially at 2,500 gold. I would not be surprised to see solo laners picking this up every single game. This is a very strong item. I would actually say the secondary passive is probably so strong they should nerf it before it goes on live client. This is a very strong passive. Like, incredibly strong passive. Enra's Blessing. Whatnot heroes within 100 units of you, if they're immobilized, grant them 50 plus 30 magical power plus 8% max health shields for 3.5 seconds, 15-second cooldown per target. It's not 15-second cooldown in general, it's 15-second per target, which means that you can shield your entire team. This item will also be absolutely fucking insane. Holy shit. 10% would still be strong, but at least feasible. For reference, Bastion is 7% mitigation. This is 20%, so this will be insane. This item, also insane. You will probably build both of these every single game as a support. Both of them very strong. Also, imagine you have like 3 or 4 people with this. You're about to be getting like a 20% max HP shield. Yeah, I'm buying this in... I'm going to play Kwang Jungle, and I'm going to build this, and then my support's going to build this, and my Sevarog Solo's going to build this, and we're just going to get a 2,000 HP shield. Have fun with that. Good luck. Luxforge Lantern. Take down the ward kills, permanently grant 2 physical power up to a maximum of 30. This is really interesting, actually. I kind of like this item. This is interesting. A lot of combat gains 7% movement speed. This is a very interesting item. This is an interesting item. I actually kind of like this. This is interesting. This could be really good. This could be really good. It could be really bad. Very interesting item. If you clear 15 wards, you get 30 power. Very interesting item. Not sure if it'll be great, but it's a very interesting item. Hello, Visi. Xenia, upon standing within 150 units of an allied hero. Chimera support returns. True. Upon standing within 150 units of an allied hero, grant them shield for 4 seconds, 10-second cooldown per target. Okay. Why? Okay. Subsequent applications to the same hero within 10 seconds are 50% effective. Well, there's a 10-second cooldown, so it doesn't even really make sense. Does the shield, like, not go away? It goes away after 4 seconds? Well, how would you ever apply it to the same... Oh, I guess if you have multiple people with it? I don't know. Shielding is going to be kind of nuts next patch. Maybe Astral Catalyst will actually be good. Just for anti-shield damage. Talking so fast compared to the last few days, I feel like he's got an IV of caffeine. I am drinking coffee today, yeah. Also, I'm trying to get through these patch notes. I've been reading for 40 minutes, so I'm trying to get through this as fast as I can. I don't want it to be like a 2-hour-long YouTube video, so I'm trying to do what I can. It seems like there's a lot of shield items. Also, good stats on this item. Cheap as well. I feel like you could do a lot of funny builds with this patch. Here's the pain. Your basic attacks deal 30 plus 5% bonus health. The physical damage to yourself and the enemy target. This damage does not affect you while you're below 35%. Okay, so this is a cursed item: attack speed, physical armor, magical armor. You get base regen. For 300 health you're missing, gain 2.5% attack speed and 30 base regen. This is probably insane on like Sevarog and stuff like that. So like regardless of this first one where you deal damage to yourself, not only do you do like an insane amount of damage, I assume this is mitigated by armor of some type since it's physical damage. So like if you're a tank, you're probably not taking that much. Also, you don't take damage when you're below 35%. And then if let's say you have 600 HP or 6,000 HP and you're down 4,000 HP, you're getting what is that? 1,200 base regen? Is that right? Is that math right? This is kind of insane. Is that math right? Because it'd be 40 times 30, so you're getting 1,200 base regen. That's pretty nuts. This will be very good item. This will be a very good item. Get ready for this to be in your games. Sevarog's about to be walking you down with 1,200 base regen. That'll be sick. Bro's about to be healing 800 HP a second. This will be nuts. Or like Rampage. Imagine Rampage ulting you with this regular high regen in jungle. This is gonna be kind of nuts. Hello, GM. YouTube GM says hello. Make sure to call him a bot in the comments. Little fucking bot. Like, what are you the GM of? Nothing. You're a fucking cashier at Wendy's. Inquisition. Side wave upon casting an ability and no wave of energy. This is basically every time you use an ability. It's kind of like Elefrost, but it applies on abilities instead of just your auto attacks. A little bit less damage, but it has a lower cooldown. And it does extra damage to monsters. Kind of a good item. Not sure how good it will be, but it is like on paper it looks pretty good. Magical armor too, which is really nice. Means you actually could build a magical damage item, a magical defense item that does damage, which is nice. So that'll be interesting. Rebirth. This is their respawn item. So basically, when you die, you turn into a drone. If you survive for 7 seconds, you respawn with 50% health and mana. You can die in the drone. You can also auto attack in the drone. You can't use abilities or active items though, and the basic attacks are not as strong as your normal. They can't crit or apply lifesteal. You have HP based on your level and armor based on your level. Base attack speed is the same, 50% jump height, so you can maybe get up ledges and stuff, extra movement speed, and just kind of you turn into a little drone. You walk around, maybe you survive, maybe you don't. It does have a very long cooldown though. It is a 4-minute cooldown, so you're not going to get it all the time, but very interesting. Might be a good item, might not. Can you flash? I don't think so, since that would be an active item. Transference, shield transference. When a shield is applied to you expires, 50% of its remaining value is restored as health over 3 seconds, reduced to 25% of its remaining value for shields that were applied by allies. Interesting. So you just get health back from shields if they don't get popped, which is interesting. When you're shielded, you get 12% movement speed and 10% increased armors. Seems like a good item. A lot of these items seem to have like dual stats, which is really nice, like dual defense, which will be, I'm not sure if they're great or bad, we'll see. I do see a lot of these items either having no HP or no cooldown, so I'm not sure how that will interact in general. Hey, going into solo versus magical, the armor you got to build does no damage or clear. I mean, Cat tried technically lets you clear the cannon or something like that. It does also do damage to anything around it when you clear it. Vainglory, the last item in the patch. Holy fuck, there's so many items. Pride, upon taking or dealing hero damage, gain a stack of vanity for 4 seconds. Each stack increases your armor by 0.5%, stacking up to 10 times, so you get up to 5% extra armor. Not sure this will be very good. Well, at max vanity stacks, your armors are increased by an additional 10%. Okay, so you go up to 15% when you have max stacks. Interesting item. Not sure if it would be great. Kind of expensive. Not great stats. No haste. I can't imagine this being good. Why would I build this when I could just build what's it called? Agawar, which does literally the exact same thing, except I get an insane amount of power from it, and it just has better base stats. Not sure why I'd ever build this item. Kind of a bad item. Frost variant, 50-50. So it is not a... I thought they would have a little bit more favored to be the Frostfall since it was new, but I guess it is just going to be a flat 50-50. I thought it would be like 60-40 for this patch or 70-30 for this patch, but it looks like it will be an actual 50-50. I'm curious as to why they did that. Obviously, depending on which world shift you get that Shaper. The rewards are the same. The combat, the actual like buff versus the seedlings is a little different depending on which one it is, but the actual like gold and XP is the same. Shield. So there's a thing with shields right now where if you apply a shield on top of a shield, so let's say you Muriel ult on somebody, and then you right click them after you land. When the ult goes away, regardless of how much damage the ult shield took, the right click shield will get removed if let's say the ult is 300 HP shield, okay? And then you right click and it's 150 HP. And then let's say somebody hits them for 200 damage, right? And it takes 200 damage off the ult shield, so the ult shield has 100 HP left. When that ult shield disappears, it would remove the extra 150 from the right click because it would still remove 300 flat. This basically means that that won't happen anymore. So now when you shield somebody, and let's say you do 200 damage to the ult shield, now it'll apply 100 damage off the shield because it'll reduce that. So this allows you to get extra value out of shields in general, which makes shields a lot better. At least when you stack shields. Stacking shields is a lot stronger now. You won't see shields being removed as heavily anymore. Argus, extra movement speed, right click, more damage. The Q, extra speed, but it like falls faster, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is how this works. Lower cooldown, still sucks. I think that character's still going to be mid. I don't think any of the items really help him, and I don't think he'll be that strong. Maybe the crest will help him more, doing an extra 12% damage for 3 seconds. Maybe that'll help him. Bale, extra damage on his 1. Still think he's probably better tank, especially with some of these tank items that are being added to the game, but we'll see. Fang Mao, a little bit of extra mana, a little bit of extra damage on his 2. Still going to be kind of mid. Some of the assassin items might make him better, but we'll see. I don't expect a lot of like hero changes just because there's a lot of items being added to the game and things like that. And the map could also change like how characters are played, actives, etc. So like I wouldn't expect super heavy balance in terms of characters, but just very light touch ups to probably more the outlier heroes. Grim, a little bit of extra damage on his 1, less cooldown early game, but more cooldown early game, but less cooldown late game. So a little bit of a buff, and less cooldown on the shield late game. Kalari, less crit damage on her abilities with the augment, and the right click does less damage, as well as having a little bit longer of a cooldown. Makes sense she's getting a nerf on the right click, just with the alternator item being added to the game. Chimera, less HP. Everybody hates Chimera. OP character. Less regen at max stacks. Won't really notice it until more like 15, 20 stacks. You won't really notice too much of a difference. Less base HP though. The Q has 0.5 second longer cooldown, and it does less cleave damage, so you won't be able to clear as fast. Alt 5 second longer cooldown, kind of irrelevant. The cleave is probably the biggest nerf here, outside of the base HP. Means you just won't clear as fast, which can stop you from snowballing as hard. Belica executes minions at 80% normal execute threshold, meaning it'll take longer for her to clear waves. You won't be able to auto attack 3 minions at once as easily anymore. Basically, when you hit level like 7, you can right click the wave and then you can auto attack all 3 archer minions in just one shot, all 3 of them. You probably won't be able to do that anymore, which just hurts her early game a little bit. Also hurts her like cannon clear probably more than anything else. Less base HP, doesn't really matter. Less damage on the right click, slightly longer cooldown on the right click. She's pretty strong right now, so I'm not surprised she's getting nerfed. Less scaling on the ult, less base damage on the ult. And then they also added a new feature to the ult where if the target doesn't have any mana, i.e. Eden, like they don't use mana, which Eden does not, it just does a flat 20 to 30% of their their missing HP instead of mana. So to Eden specifically, it will do 20 to 30% missing HP. This only applies to characters that don't use mana, not characters that have no mana. Important distinction. Morgash, slight damage increase on the 1, and by slight I mean 40 damage, kind of a lot. Extra scaling on the 2, right click damage increase. Can't wait for the Timmies to complain more about Morgash. She sucks. She does. People always think she's OP. Oh my god, I can't believe it's Morgash upgrade. I don't know how did that just stand in range of the right click permanently. Annoying character, but not OP. Not surprised she's getting buffed. She's really bad right now. So I'm not surprised she's getting buffed. Morn, they're matching up the animation on the passive auto attack to align more with the heal, so it just feels a little bit better. And they're adjusting the damage frame on the regular auto attack, if I'm not mistaken. Basically the same thing. They're just making it line up a little better, making it feel a little stronger. Uriel, right click shield being reduced. Not surprising, especially with the shield change that we talked about earlier. Sereth, less armor, longer cooldown on the Q, and less damage on the right click. Late game, not really that surprising, but also like she's not that OP, but she's not that surprising that they're nerfing her in some way. Use my sway to make Morgash's kit better. They don't listen to me on that, bro. I don't think they'll ever change that character. Um, Skylar right click now executes at a lower threshold. This is a good change. Basically means you can't clear the way with the right click as easily, which is good. But there's also, I assume they're doing this for every character that hits like really fast. I assume TB will probably get a similar change. I wouldn't be surprised. Just to make it not as cringe to fight against in terms of clear speed, especially since she already has really fast clear in general. Terra, her Q gets extra damage, extra scaling, and extra scaling on the third hit if you have your passive. I think Terra's pretty good, but we'll see how she is. TB actually didn't get the treatment, which is surprising. TB passive doing extra damage and getting extra attack speed. It is getting base physical power growth. I actually am not that surprised that they didn't nerf TB because he is probably the weakest ADC on the current patch. So maybe they are waiting to see how he feels after this, and then they will adjust that in the future if they need to. It is kind of weird that it's like a little inconsistent though with the other characters like Belica and Skylar. Wukong, health growth, he gets less HP, and he gets a little bit more cooldown on his passive between levels. Like he gets a little bit less reduction per level. Still not enough in my opinion. They need to just stop doing this shit with double jump of passives. Like stop making it 6 seconds. Like this is fucking insane. Like 6-second passive double jump is fucking stupid. This should be 10 seconds. It should be a flat regular ability. This is fucking stupid. Make it 10 seconds. Stop the bullshit. Annoying ass character. Yin, extra base damage. She gets to attack faster, I believe. Is what this means. She attacks faster, which is a buff. And then a little bit longer of a slow duration on the Q, and extra damage on the right click, and a lower cooldown on the right click. She's also pretty weak on this patch. She got nerfed pretty hard the last few patches, so I'm not surprised she's getting buffed. Zorus, cooldown increased on the 2 by 2 seconds. Evade no longer grants excessive momentum when used while falling downwards midair. This was a little bug. Basically, if you jumped and then you dashed at the bottom of the jump, you would get extra distance and like momentum. No longer happens. Longer base cooldown. I assume this is like a preemptive cooldown specifically for that right click augment or like some of the other stuff. Also, it's kind of just hard to kill. 9-second cooldown is very tough, especially when he's already building a lot of cooldown. It ends up going to like 4 or 5 seconds, and it's kind of annoying to play against. Damage on the right click reduced by 5 base. A lot of physical power scaling decreased. Spear throw bonus damage decreased. Base cooldown extra second late game. Not too much of a difference there. Then we had the regular item balance. Nobody cares about the tier 2 items. Extra corrode passive on this is pretty important. This is an extra 6% shred on tier 2 basilisk. That's pretty important. Other than that, nobody really cares about tier 2 items. Less attack speed on eviscerator. This is a bug. 5% less. Couldn't even tell. Ashbringer, now that melee heroes have access to new forms of cooldown reduction. Basically, they're going to apply this to only apply once per ability. This is to nerf, like, so this is still in the game. You get 8%, so you get half, a third of the amount is reduced, so from 12 to 8% on heroes, and then from 5 to 4. Also reduces 1.5 times the original value upon crits, so you get extra cooldown if you crit, which makes it, this is pretty much a really big nerf to characters like Grux, where their right click applies the passive twice. So basically you would get 25% reduction every time you right click somebody. Now you'll only get 8% and it'll only apply once, so you only get the 8% instead of 12 and 12. And then it makes it a little bit stronger on characters that actually play ADC, which is what it's designed for, more for like Kira and things like that, which will still get the full 12% on the right click, which will make it more specifically their item, and you won't see it as much on like Boris either. Boris also would trigger it multiple times, like it would proc twice on his right click per character, so if you hit 4 people, like you would proc it 8 times, which is just insane, and then you would just immediately dash again. Things like that, you can't do that anymore. So huge nerf to characters that have used this, specifically bruisers, in general, basically Grux and Chimera. Sorry, Grux and Boris specifically. What's up, Jack? How are you doing today? Good morning. Say hi to YouTube for me. He's racing and pacing, plotting the course. I'm trying to finish, bro. I'm trying to make this video under an hour. Does double a little bit less cost, doesn't really matter. Extra damage on Spectra, passive, doesn't really matter. They kind of killed this item when they removed the slow. I still don't think it'll be that good. But with the new item that increases your attack speed cap and also just gives you flat base attack speed, maybe it'll be a lot stronger. Who knows? Because it is an on-hit effect and this doesn't get affected by the damage reduction from that item. So maybe it'll be good. Viper, just, matching up with the tier 2 item, 30% shred instead of 24%. Very nice. I assume Basilisk will also get this treatment. Augmentation, a little bit less physical power, a little bit more attack speed. Item still sucks. Don't see it being built. Basilisk, again, getting the same treatment that Viper just got and the tier 2 got. Just a little bit more shred, make it a little bit more viable. Specifically on like ADCs as well. 30% is kind of where you want to be at minimum for armor. So like this is actually a pretty big buff to those two items. Earthshaker, extra power, less attack speed. Still think this item is going to be pretty insane next patch, especially on Eden. I think this item will be really good. Not sure though. Just kind of spitballing a little bit. Mutilator, it only applies once per ability. So characters like Rampage, their 2 and stuff like that, if you had the augment, would apply it multiple times. Things like that, like TB, like Q would proc it twice, or like Fang Mao 2 would proc it twice, things like that. You can only proc it once per ability now, which makes it a lot more balanced. And a little bit easier to actually like balance in general. Is Eden a carry or a jungler? She's supposed to be like a air quotes carry, but I think she's a air quotes carry like the way that Yin is a carry, air quotes. I think she's probably more of a jungler, but I haven't played her, so I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe she is an ADC. It's hard to say. Coming home to insane update. You're excited? That's supposed to be a really good one. Overlord, less power, more HP. Still just a scaling item. Who cares? If you lose 5 power, you're going to get this back with Agawar anyways. Just never said a little bit in the early game. Caustica, extra mana regen. Please give me a second mage percent pen item, please. You added a flat pen item, please add a percent pen item. I'm tired of building Caustica every game. Magnify, Arcane passive removed. I don't even know what the Arcana passive is. Let me go look at it real quick, just to go confirm what it is. Discord, get off my screen. I'm trying to see what this item is. Did I see what passive this is? Okay, this is the... Okay, it only had one passive. I just wanted to make sure. So I used to shred and then apply like a extra damage on hit. Damaging hero with ability damage shreds a magical armor by 6% for 3.5 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. This is really good. This is great. This is exactly what I just asked for. Yippee! Woo! Woo! Listen to me! Ace changed it immediately. He just looked at patch notes and changed it. Let's go! Woo! This can be used on every mage. Thank God. Finally. No more Shimby one-shots either. Thank God. Okay, basically anytime you deal any damage with magical damage, well, ability damage specifically, it applies shred. So this is actually important that it's ability damage and not just magical damage, because that means it doesn't apply on things like Fire Blossom, which stuff like Basilisk does. So this is actually an important change. Finally! Woo! You can build this on Gadget, not build Caustica. Woo! Double shred, let's go! Megacosm, a little bit extra bonus health damage. Specifically, this is only against people that are actually building HP, not the base amount. I think Megacosm's still a little good, but not super good. Will be a little bit better next patch, obviously. Amir, a little bit extra HP, doesn't matter, item sucks. Cresselia, a little bit extra damage on the on-hit effect, a little bit less reduction, item still sucks. Don't think you're building it. Everbloom, cost decreased, good item, probably going to still be built, especially with some of these other items that are in the game. Lunaria, ability haste decreased. Just an okay item, not great, not bad. True Silver, less cost, less power. You get extra heal and shield power, specifically a buff to Narbash, it looks like. Fuck me, I just won't build it on Gideon anyways, because that shit sucks, and I'm not a pussy. So, fine by me, bro. I don't need this item anyways. Didn't want to build it anyways. Void Conduit, honestly, I'm gonna build this shit on, like, Fae or something, just so I get extra healing. Void Conduit, lower cost, extra missing mana regen. Item's kind of fallen down a little bit. I think it'll still be okay, but I don't think it's going to be that good, especially with some of the other magical options that are being added to the game. Warp Stream, they just changed the recipe, doesn't matter. Catalytic Converter, like I said, we got the Catalytic Converter, we got the fucking Alternator. What else do we, when do we get the Spark Plugs? You know what I mean? Bonus health scaling decrease, so basically when you kill something, you get bonus HP heal. Equivalent to like 4%. Now you get 3%. It's just less, and you get less armors when you finish it. Less damage on Tainted Guard. Basically, when you get auto attacked, you apply damage. You just do less damage. Void Helm, just change the recipe, doesn't matter. They already talked about the shield fixed. Fix Zorus. Compounding damage not differentiating between crit hits and non-crit hits. This is really annoying when you're playing like Skylar or something and you're right-clicking. You can't tell if you're critting or regular hitting. It makes it look like you're not critting. So that's nice. Akron retain his larger crushing maul hitbox by allowing his Weblash wall hang to timeout. I don't even know what that means, but sure. Dynamic background shadows, doesn't matter on the battle pass, and hero AI could become stuck. Nobody cares about hero AI. Nobody plays AI matches. I would actually be surprised if there's more than 10 AI matches a week. And that's patch notes, man. That's everything. Any closing statements, Mr. CEO? Honestly, not too bad of a patch. We'll see when I actually play on it, but I think overall I'd give this patch like an 8 maybe 8.5. We'll see. I'll give it an 8 for now. We'll maybe put it up or down depending on the patch. Let me play on it first. Tend to go get the skins. Ace said buy the skins or he's not going to feed me and then he's going to execute me on the yacht in international waters so that he's not subject to any laws. And he'll get away with it. So make sure you buy the skins. Also, like and subscribe and comment. Make sure, again, you make fun of GM. He's a cashier at Wendy's. Bro's name is GM on Twitch, but he's the fucking GM of being the cashier at Wendy's, I guess. I don't know. Little bot. But I hope everybody has a good rest of their afternoon. Thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. And